Offensive Player of the Week. So just what did you see from him in that Titans game, and just how much did he improve from the previous week?
Yeah, I thought he played well. He was in control the whole game, knew where he wanted to go with the football, was able to move in the pocket and do some good things, and then just really kind of ran the offense, distributed the ball with the guy he was supposed to go to, protected the ball first of all, protected himself. I think we come out of the game with one sack where he actually scrambled and lost a yard. We wish he would have flipped it out of bounds for that, but he played well. Did a good job running the show.
How much did having him on the run, the play action, a little under center work, how much did that sort of influence how you guys played?
Yeah, I think all of it marries together, of being able to run the ball, being able to run wide zone concepts, and then movements off wide zone concepts or off tosses, and then play actions off wide zones and play action screens, and staying in first and second down, normal down distance situations like we want to be in. We're able to kind of get into all the things that we plan to get into in a game. So you're able to kind of control the dynamics of the game, stay ahead of the chain, stay efficient, and then that allows you to get into some of the stuff that allows you to be explosive, and we were able to do a little bit of that.
What did the Texans defense do the first matchup that kind of threw the Jags offense off?
Yeah, they did a good job of mixing looks. Traditionally when you played this type of unit, you kind of knew what the zone coverages you were going to get. Obviously, we fell behind. They scored. They were able to play a little bit more of the shell coverage things and do a good job. As you look at it, they took the football away twice from us. We fumbled once on a 3rd and 10 conversion, and then we had we threw an interception there late in the game as well. But they did a good job of just keeping things in front, which is one of the big core commandments for their defense is to limit explosives. I think they do that well. They play, a lot of zone coverage, zone eyes. They're able to see everything in front and rally and tackle, and they play with great energy. So, yeah, they gave us a lot of fits the first time through.
What are you seeing in C.J. Stroud that has allowed him to elevate at a pretty quick rate for a rookie? I know he had the picks last week, but he does seem to be playing at a pretty
I haven't
level.
spent a ton of time watching C.J. Stroud so far. We spend more of our time just watching their defense to begin with. So I've seen a little bit here and there, but
yeah. But when you're watching the Texans, do you see? I know you're only watching the offense, but the defense. But could you just talk about just what he's done so far, just for 10 games?
I'm aware of the numbers and things he's put out there, so that's certainly impressive for a young player. They've done a good job in their system, from what I understand, but I can't say I've sat and watched all his games and how he's performed and things like that. I know he played well when he was here the first time, and in the crossover film you see they do a really good job with their offense scheme, and he seems to be running the show really well.
What do you take from week 3? Obviously a lot of things you did wrong, whether it's turnovers or whatever, but what stands out to you about what went wrong that particular week?
I think there were a lot of self-inflicted wounds in that game. You watch, we had a couple drops. I think we had 3 pre-snap penalties. We had 2 post-snap penalties in the first half of the game. We give the ball away twice. We trip our own back on 3rd and 2. When we convert a 4th and 1, we get illegal hands to the face. Just a number of things that we couldn't get out of our own way. And they did a good job. They made it hard on us. They're a really good defense, young defense that I feel like they've grown a ton in the 2 months since that game, but we feel like we've grown a lot as well. So fortunately the score doesn't carry over, and we get to start over at zeros and see how it goes.
Russ, how satisfying is it to, even when you're not breaking free in the run game, to stick with it and stay patient with it?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned you did it against Atlanta as well, where you were able to operate a lot of things in the pass game off,
right.
even if the numbers aren't there.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we want to do, and it's more so being efficient. It doesn't always look pretty to get 3-4 yards a run here and there, and then I think we kind of changed some tendencies potentially and hit some runs. We started a 2-minute drive with a run that gained 9, 10, 11, something like that. We had a couple second long runs that hit for us. We were able to stick with it in the red zone and move forward, and then be able to convert 3rd downs. So there's going to be times where if you run the ball, you end up in these 3rd downs that are 3rd and manageable. You got to make plays, and that's something we hadn't done early in the year. We were able to do on some of the 3rd and 2s, 3s, 4s this week to just continue to get snaps. The more we get snaps, the more we can dive into kind of the ways we want to attack people, and everything marries off one another.
It looked like you did some slight tweaks to try and make sure that Calvin Ridley was involved. Are those things that you kind of just wanted to do to try and make sure that he is able to play at his best for the offense?
Yeah, we're always trying to feature guys in different ways. And again, I think the more you can stay on schedule with that stuff, you can utilize those things. I don't know that there was necessarily anything we did with him that we had not done at some point in the year. We handed the around to him. We hit him on the over, which was the same play as we hit against Pittsburgh in the rain out there. He made a good play. Obviously, the red zone concept, we had a third down red zone concept in there that he was really just running a corner, and he's done a great job of that. We've carried that in our game plan for a long time. Hadn't had a chance to call it. It's looked like that in practice. It looked exactly like that was a great throw. So there's certainly things we've done throughout the course of the year. I think just managing the situations and the dynamics of the game allows you to stay on script a little bit more and get to everything you have. And then at the same time, for him to have a big game, other people don't have as much. So there's always going to be this give and take, and it's a great thing to have a lot of good players and be able to feature that. But, certainly Sunday was his day, so that was nice to see.
Can you feel when Trevor's kind of getting into rhythm a little bit from where you're?
I think so. I mean, you have a good feel for when he's seeing it and when he has a lot of ideas. There's a lot of communication, a lot of times through the sideline, through Coach McCoy and Doug and things like that. They're saying this, they're seeing this, and we're kind of where are we going next with certain calls, and we get into that. So, I think just even watching him deliver the ball, you kind of have a feel for he's in rhythm right here. He's seeing it really well. He's throwing it where he wants to. So that it felt like one of those games on Sunday.
So when he's in that, how hard is it for you to, like we were talking with Brent, to still stay with the run game when you know your guys feeling it?
I think everything kind of builds off the run game. So you trust a little bit more that when we get around to this, it's going to set up that, or it's going to, he's going to put the ball in the right spot. And sometimes they're not dynamic plays down the field. He's seeing it well and he's checking the ball down because they're getting out underneath and he's putting the ball in play. And, that's a big part of it that maybe the stats don't reflect, but we can feel when he's in control and seeing things really well. And it worked out the other day where they happened to be down the field throws, but, there's been games where he probably has, 190 yards and we felt like he was in complete control doing the right thing with the football every time.
You've seen a lot of quarterbacks play and all that other stuff, watch a lot of football. Do you still ever get impressed by throws that guys make?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I get really impressed with guys on the sideline, just the toe drag stuff. Christian had one. Calvin had the one in the back of the end zone. Some of that stuff to be moving at the speed they move and get their feet down, and the quarterback to put it in a position where only his guy's getting it on the sideline is pretty impressive. And so, there's certainly, as you're watching tape, you see a lot of things. I have folders that are just called wow, and it might be a quarterback, and it's somebody running around, spinning around, making a play that you're just like, how does this happen when you're being chased by the best of the best and trying to fit it in a tight window? I mean, there's sometimes you take for granted how amazing these guys are at what they do.
You guys have stuck with Tank throughout some of the lows this season. How rewarding was it to see him do what you guys drafted him to do in the fourth quarter the other night? Yeah,
that was awesome. And again, Tank's going to be a really, really good player in this league. I think he's had a little bit of some unfortunate circumstances. 2 balls have bounced off his hands that were hot from a couple feet away. He had scooped up a ball that got punched out when he didn't realize it was over. So, a little bit of his unlucky. But we believe in Tank. We believe in what he brings every single day, and that's why we believe in Tank, because we see it. We see the work he puts into studying the game plan, to walkthroughs of understanding blocking schemes and protection schemes and things like that. And he just continues to grow as a player. So, I've talked to him a number of times that whether it's this week, this game, next week, there's going to be a point in the season where Tank Bigsby is going to make a huge play for our offense, and we're going to stick with him because we believe in him and we know what he's capable of, and he's starting to show that. So that's exciting for all of us.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Russ.
What's it take to get a defense to play as consistently as your group is this year? What's the difference from previous year? How have you gotten them to play so consistently, with obviously the San Francisco game being the hiccup there?
I think just the guys understand that they want to be good, and we put in the work, and they understand that we're going to demand things from them and try to do it the right way, and they're enjoying it, and they trust it, and it's the culture around here. You know, when we first got here, we tried to put a stamp on it, and it's continuing to build that way. And the guys that bought in, Doug does a great job of getting everybody on the same page, and when you're on the same page, good things happen.
How much has CJ Stroud grown from since the last time you guys saw him?
A bunch. He was good back then, and he's even better now. It's pretty amazing to see him come in and do the things that he's been able to do. Takes care of the ball, throws the ball wherever he needs to, makes a bunch of plays with his legs, and he's a guy that he's really putting on great performances week after week after week.
Is their offensive line getting enough credit for the way they're helping him out?
I don't think so. They have a guy. The last time we played them, they were kind of banged up. Now they're getting their guys back in there, and you can see them starting to gain that confidence. And when you have a quarterback that's playing as well as he is, it just builds confidence throughout the team. And D'Amico's doing a great job of leading that bunch, and they're playing at a high level right now.
Mike, what's in that? Oh, go ahead.
It seems like most defenses are concerned about giving up big plays, right, and keeping everything in front of you. These guys keep hitting a bunch of explosives. I mean, what are you seeing on tape that they've been so good at it?
Well, they're dynamic. You can see the speed at receiver, and they have a run game that you get the quarterback protected, and the quarterback has a strong arm, and he drops dimes. At times he's putting the ball exactly where it needs to be placed, and they got us a few times, and it was miscommunication, but you have to be on your A game. If you're one step late or you don't get in the right coverage, they're going to take advantage of it, and that's what we got to do. We got to make sure we're able to get ourselves in the right coverage and go out there and compete.
Does that put extra pressure on the safeties in this one?
It's really everybody. Safeties communicate, linebackers, and nickel and the corners, but communication is, it's a thing that we stress all the time. We have to be on the same page, and we do. Sometimes we do a good job of it. Sometimes we're not as good as we want to be. So we're working to get better at that.
It seems like what Stroud is doing is rare for a rookie quarterback. I mean, just what do the Texans do to sort of to have made it easier maybe for him to get off to this hot start this year?
I don't think. Well, they made it. They make it look easy because they're putting up a bunch of yards. But he's a guy that you look at him, you see maturity. Now, I don't know him personally, but you see that when he plays the game, it's not I'm running around him all over the place. He's poised in the pocket. He understands where to go with the ball, and he trusts his offensive line. He has a run game behind him, and he's just making play after play after play.
So they're not doing anything necessarily when you watch a tape and you're like, the quarterback's able to easily get it to X, Y, and Z. They're not necessarily doing anything to make it a little simpler, I guess. For
I guess all coordinators have progressions that they want the quarterback to go through, and he has his, and he's going through them, and it's like clockwork for him. If it's not here, I'm going there. If it's not there, I'm going here. And the offensive line has something to do with that because they're protecting him. And you send a blitz, and he feels the blitz, he throws it to the right spot. There's different things that he's able to do to, help the success they're having.
When you're going against a quarterback that's thrown with the anticipation like he's been thrown with this year, how much stress does that put on the secondary?
It's big time. We have to be in our zones, man-to-man. We have to make sure we have eyes on him so we're able to anticipate and break on the ball. And that's the thing. You have to speed the quarterback up, and we try to do it every week, and we'll go out there and try to do it again this week.
Mike, you miss the days when there was nothing better as a defensive coordinator or defensive player than facing a rookie quarterback. I mean, it seems like that was the best thing you could ask for back in the day.
Well, I don't know about that. There's been some good young quarterbacks. But the game's evolving. You know, you have 7-on-7 where guys are throwing the ball around all summer, and you have guys that are in college. You got some colleges moving to pro-style offenses. So you have guys that are ready to play. And when you're surrounded by weapons and you're ready to play, you know, he's a special one, and he's showing why he's special.
Do you have to balance throwing some exotic looks at him, trying to confuse him, and just playing the way you want to play defense?
Well, we're going to be us. We're going to do what we do. And at the end of the day, we have to execute what we try to do, and they have to execute. And that's football. You know, you go out there, you try to take away, you want to make them play left-handed. You know, unless they're left-handed, you want to make them play right-handed, you know. But you want to try to make them go away from what they do good. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's what we're going to try to do and see how it works.
Appreciate
That's
it.
it. As soon as I sign up.
Is he got a terrible towel? Do you wipe your nose with it?
Sweat, nose, everything. All right, what's going on?
Fantastic.
Knowing that you are not above storing up motivational fuel, how much does going up against a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, who's being touted as this young, upcoming, does that do anything for you from a motivational standpoint, or is it just about it being a division game? It's the Texans.
Not really. I think there's there's plenty of motivation for this game anyways. You look at kind of what the Texans have done this year and being in our division, and we're getting down here at the end of the season, and all these games matter. They all matter. When you go back and look at your season, every game you've played has implications, but especially when you get to this point, we got 7 games left. It's a tight race in our division. Overall, you look at the AFC, there's a ton of teams that are kind of in the hunt. So every game matters, even more so that it is a division game. This is huge. So I think that's enough. That's enough motivation as is. But I think it's motivation too. You look at the Texans and what they're doing. They're playing really good football right now. They got a good team, good young team. They're playing really well. So it's a team that obviously there's motivation to beat. They beat us here pretty bad here at home, earlier in the season. So there's plenty of motivation just in those areas.
When you were a kid growing up watching football on television, was there any NFL quarterback rivalries that intrigued you at all? Where two, star quarterbacks or elite quarterbacks that you enjoyed watching?
Of course, obviously Tom and Peyton. That's when I was a little bit younger, I guess, and that was kind of in its prime. But that was a big one. I'm trying to think. There's been a ton. I'm trying to think of another one. That was probably the main one because Peyton was my favorite player growing up, and obviously player Tom was his whole career. Every time he was on TV, you wanted to watch him, just the way he plays the game. So that was probably, I guess, the biggest one. Even growing up in Georgia, sometimes the Matt Ryan and Drew Brees, all that. So there's a couple that I watched growing up.
How much does that first game against the Texans play into this one?
As in just...
it wasn't a performance that you guys liked out on the field. How much does that add to, I guess, fuel to the fire of sorts?
Yeah, it does, obviously, because we remember what that felt like and dropping a division game early in the season and not playing well. We remember that feeling, and that gives you a little bit of motivation. But either way, this game is big. This game is big for the Texans. We're talking about how big it is for us. It's big for them, too, so they got motivation. So I think that only goes so far in this league. You still got to go and, prepare and have a great plan and go execute on Sunday. You can have all the motivation in the world. I feel like we've been prepared in a lot of games and maybe didn't play well, and so you got to go execute on Sunday. That's what it's about. Who the better team is for 3 hours on Sunday. So, of course, you use everything you can, but you got to keep in mind that everybody's motivated for these games, especially when you're trying to make a push at the end of the season. So we all know what's at stake. There's no hiding it. You're not gonna pull any fast ones on anybody. We all know kind of how big this game is and what it could mean at the end of the year.
Down the stretch run, how do you avoid the distractions, the holidays and Christmas and all that stuff, and tighten your focus down? Because it seems like the great teams in this league find their focus at this time of the year and don't let the little things get them off track. Is that something you challenge your teammates? You guys challenge each other to that, or how do you dial in focus?
That's something we talked about today, actually. Coach Peterson mentioned, and I think it's important. You got to recognize this is a crazy time of year with holidays and obviously family and friends and just a lot going on. But then you also got the most important part of your season right in front of you, and that's when the good and great teams play well, is when it matters, especially at the end of the year. So, we understand that. We were in a position last year, obviously, where we didn't have a choice. Back was against the wall, and we had to make that push at the end of the year, and we were able to do that. So we have some experience, obviously, playing well and playing our best ball at the end of the year, but we got to do that again this year. That doesn't carry over. So I think that is on our on our mind, and that's something that we're aware of. And I think you have to be, because at the end of the day, this is our job, and you can't let all the outside distractions get to you, because there's going to be a lot going on. Coach mentioned, you talk about holidays and families and all this stuff. For those people, usually it's vacation for them, and you're hanging out, and whether they come to your house or whatever it is, for them that's vacation. They're taking time off work. We're working. Every day is important. You can't miss a day, and obviously we gotta put everything together before Sunday. So you can't afford to just take days off and all those things. Obviously, you got Thanksgiving. Of course, you can celebrate and spend some time together, fellowship, all that. But I think you got to keep in mind, what time of year it is, how important these games are for us, and our guys know that. I think we have a mature group that can handle it.
AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Do those sorts of accolades mean anything to you during the season?
I mean, not really. I appreciate the recognition, but doesn't really give you anything. I guess it's just people saying that you played a good game. So that's all it is at the end of the day. So it doesn't mean too much. I appreciate the recognition, but there's a lot of guys that go into that, and I think, especially being the quarterback, when you get something like that, obviously the guys around you had to play really well. It doesn't go without them. So that's kind of, I guess, a little bit of a boost for all of us, but that's all it is, nothing more than that.
Trevor, did you and this offense need that game to not only bounce back from San Fran, but to kind of play the way you thought this would go most of the year on the offensive end?
That's a good question. I don't know if need would be the right word. I mean, I definitely think it's a positive. You look at where we're at. Like you said, we're getting into the back half of the season, and haven't felt like that's probably the most complete game we played as an offense. So to take that step and to be playing some of our better football as this season is getting towards the back half, I think that's a positive, and you use that and you let that kind of push you forward, and you keep striving to play like that every week and play even better. There was still a lot of stuff that we left out there. So I think, you do use that, and that gives you a little motivation, kind of get you going and show, wow, this is what we could do every week. We just have to be dialed in. We got to be detailed. We got to execute and make the plays that are there. So I think that, need is kind of a tough word, but I do think that it was big for us, and I think it gives us confidence. And when you continue to play like that the rest of the way. Has
your offensive line gotten enough love for the job they did last week?
I don't know. They don't get much love. It seems like that's a tough room to be in, just for recognition, and they understand that, and they handle it like champs. They always joke about it, but those guys are doing a great job, and stuff like I said, stuff like that doesn't happen. The offense doesn't go like that when the guys up front aren't leading the charge, and that's what they did, and they took a lot of it on themselves last week. Of they're gonna do great in the run game. They're going to protect all these things, give us time to shoot the ball downfield, and we were able to do that. So it doesn't go without them, and I think sometimes, I should mention it more, because people don't understand that. I understand that, and we talk about it a lot in our group. So, we love those guys up, because it is a tough job. It's the most selfless job on the field. You do your job, great, no one talks about you. You give up a sack, everybody's talking about you. It's the opposite of other positions. It's like you do your job the right way, you don't get much recognition for it. So those guys, I think they deserve all the credit. It's a tough job, and they're doing an awesome job, and we just got to keep getting better every week.
Do you have any idea why this team is pretty dialed in on the road, has been this year? Is it easier to be dialed in on the road sometimes?
I don't know what the answer to that is. I think that's something we emphasized for sure this season. Is we weren't great on the road last year, especially early in the year, for whatever reason. And that was an emphasis. That was a point of emphasis, I know, in training camp that we talked about. We talked about our season, the things that we need to get better at, maybe some things we did well. And that was something that we thought we needed to get better at. And maybe it is something, I think when you get out of here, there is something to, you get out of here a day early, you go to a hotel, it's just you, got time to prepare and do all your stuff, no distractions. I think there is some merit to that as well. Who knows how big of a part that plays. But like I said, I think we're all professionals, so we take care of our business here too. So, but yeah, we gotta keep that going. Obviously, it's a big road game. You're gonna play in big road games to finish the year that you're gonna have to win. So this is a good challenge for us this week.
This may go back to college, because when you go away in college, the stadiums are bigger, the fans might be even more hostile. But do players now? They're never intimidated by an away atmosphere, and do you feed off of it? Do you feed off the other fans screaming and yelling and being in those hostile environments?
Yeah, I think from obviously a communication standpoint, it's not to your advantage, but I do think there is something cool about being able to go in someone else's stadium, and the goal is always to quiet the crowd by the fourth quarter. And I think that's something that we've tried to do, tried to make an emphasis in our games on the road, is to try to do that, because that's a cool feeling when you go to someone else's stadium and get into a position where they're not even loud in the fourth quarter. So I think that's something that you kind of look forward to, and that challenge and everybody against you kind of back against the wall. That feeling of being on the road is a real thing, and I think that you should use all of that to play better. But and then from a practical standpoint, obviously communication becomes more challenging when it's really loud and you can't hear. Critical situations, just have to really communicate, really be on the same page, and have to be prepared. And especially in those situations when communication is limited, you have to really be prepared and know your job.
Can we get your 3 most irresistible Thanksgiving Day table
Also,
items?
where is this going? Golly. 3 just dishes.
Yeah, that you would just really crave.
Sweet potato casserole would be one of them. What's another one? Like green bean or like broccoli casserole. Those are 2 that I really like. I'll say that's one other one though. And the third one, what are some other ones? Can you guys throw some out there?
Like a
Stuffing,
dessert. What about
turkey,
dessert?
Stuffing, dessert. Oh, pecan pie.
There you go.
That's a good one. Pecan pie. However. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Trevor.